In the early days of man, created in the lab, a pack of wild dogs to aid us in our fight. Attack the mayor now!
We'll defy racial war. Plus the greatest project out.
A sacrifice to something planet must be made to save our foes. I'll fight that bitch in court for custody of my son.
He's 23.
Something planet, you're my golden boy. What have we done? What have we done? I murdered my only son. SomethingPlanet.com has just begun.
Something Planet was filmed in front of a live studio audience. Something Planet Podcast, episode number 535. Welcome to it. I am your host, John Jay. We got a great show coming up for you on this very special early edition morning episode. We're recording in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but I had to make an exception because my good friend, David Weingarten, is here via satellite. We used some Elon Musk technology and we beamed him from Denver into space and then back down into the Something Planet Studios just so we could see his lovely face and bald head. I thought you were gonna get the hair surgery.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, once you go deep into the bald hole, the bald universe, it's kind of hard to dig your way back out. I mean, like once you establish yourself,
I'm still
as
in
the
hat
bald
mode.
guy. I mean, and I was in that mode for forever, but you still have some hair left. When you reach the last follicles on the top of your head, like the hair,
You're just like, what's the fucking point? You know,
it's
like
Tony Kornheiser on Pardon the Interruption. Like he'll pull a couple strands across the top, but I mean, I don't want to make it to that point. So
You don't wanna-
nipped it in the bud early.
Yeah, you don't want to go in the direction of getting like some sort of complicated thing that only one barber alive knows how it works.
Well, and also, I don't want to be tied to this process. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
like Botox. You get a few hair plugs, and then, oh shit, another crop pops up in the back. Now I have to go back. So now I'm married to my plastic surgeon or whoever is performing the
And it
back alley
looks
procedure.
painful too, right? I'm
would
told
imagine.
It's
I mean,
painful.
Well, there's a period where it's growing back too, where it doesn't look very good. So you're going to be going back to hat
Right.
mode again.
Or your hat
or,
mode
you
or
know.
toupee mode, which can be even more expensive. Toupee mode could be even more expensive than the surgery. If you want a good
Dude, I
one.
gotta be like guys like Rob Lowe and Jason Bateman. They have to be wearing rugs, man. There's no way.
Oh, yeah.
that is an insurmountable amount of hair plugs. There's no way
Hairstyle
that's
hasn't changed in 27 years. Yeah, on either of them.
I think at this point, if I did have hair, my daughter would just freak the F out. You know, she's
Oh, yeah.
3 years old and she knows daddy is this bald guy. I mean, she loves to call me bald. At this point, I'm immune to that word, but she knows me as the bald guy with the weird beard and goofy crap. So that's who I am.
Somebody who is admittedly bald, admittedly wears a hairpiece, Joel McHale.
Oh,
I thought it was
I
a
mean,
joke
it's
at
good.
first.
It's a good looking hairpiece, man.
But once again, hairstyle has not changed in 27 years.
The conspiracy theories are out. the big thing though is like, then what happens if you want to go swimming? What happens if you want to go like in the sauna, the steamer? I mean, anything that's going to compromise that rug, you just can't do. Or you have to wear like a Navy diver helmet or something to protect your rug.
Well, yeah, maybe they just take it off and they just wear like a towel on their head, you know?
Yeah, there's something weird going. I'd love to see like some sort of behind the scenes of how you go through life with one of those elaborate rugs.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting documentary, like the prep on that, the daily prep of getting that, especially to look flawless, because there's like, there's a Bobby Jewell hairpiece and then there's a Joel McHale hairpiece, okay?
Very different. Yeah, Bobby Jewell is kind of like the Canadian South Park, like two-part head.
Yeah,
it's like the toupees up here and the face is down here.
Right. The thing's going to crawl away at any moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, the quality is there, but do you think they have like an underwear drawer of toupees where it's just like, here's the Tuesday toupee?
Oh, yeah.
And so they all smell wonderful and
Oh, yeah. You can't use the same one every
stems.
day. My
Maybe, I
grandmother
mean-
actually used to be a stylist for people's toupees. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like you get a little
Very
bit
niche.
more silver in your beard. You got to change the top to match, you know? So then she would weave in a little bit more silver hair, or she would give it a trim if they wanted it trimmed. And yeah, she said they would just, these guys, yeah, they had just have like a beautiful drawer that they keep them all in.
These are very first world trades that she
Yeah,
was good.
people are not worried about this in like rural China. Like guys are just like, what?
Yeah, indigenous folks are not concerned about like their hair separation or baldness patterns.
Yeah, I think I think I just want to live in a world where nobody gives a shit anymore. How about that? That would be good.
I'm okay
right?
with that. Well, I mean, what was the big thing in Idiocracy? They solved two problems. It was
Erections and hair loss.
Yeah.
That was their big claim to like new fame. That was great.
Well, that's the big problem because I was gonna try some of those pills to try to, and actually, you can go back. There's episodes of me not wearing a hat, and it's just there's too much shine. I have to keep the
Bro,
hat on because of the shine.
I had to turn off all the lights and give just front projection. Otherwise, that's all you'll see.
Yeah,
is
I got
just
Matt
big-
Fernandez in studio once a week now, and I'm like this motherfucker could light a studio. He could light the set of like a movie. We just bounce a light off of him, his giant white body, and it just completely lights the whole scene.
Oh man, yeah. I did. Well, when I saw him last, I think he was still doing just like the buzz. So now he's gone full Johnny B.
Yeah, I think he's going a little lower now. I don't know. I don't think I would ever have the patience for it. If I start losing my cool mullet curls in the back here, I'm just gonna do the buzz too because I don't got time to be shaving like that. That's too much.
No man.
I only
And
shave my
again, you're-
face once a week.
And again, you're just like treading water anyways. I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing positive is going to come out of that. So just cut right to it. And haircuts are a lot less expensive when you're doing it yourself.
That's true.
You
I'm
have a
paying
lot of
50.
tools now.
I'm paying 50 for a fade. Yeah.
Oh no, man!
It's a
No,
nice
pay
fade.
zero.
It's a
Buy one of
nice
those-
fade, but it's
Buy one of those Norelco. They have like 9 different Norelco spinning heads that you attach to like a common base, and it takes a few minutes. Just buzz it down, and away you go.
I know. I guess my wife will leave me if I don't have the curls in the back. She said I can go completely bald up top. She said still keep the curls in the back. Yeah.
Go full skullet.
Yeah. So I was going to try to take those hair pills, those hair restoration pills. And I was like, as you should do before you start taking any medication, whether it's prescribed by a doctor or not, you should read the side effects.
It's a
And I read
solid disclaimer.
the side effects. You basically just can't get a boner anymore.
Is
Yeah.
that a given? Like, is it
Most
is
people
it a-
are going to experience some sort of erectile dysfunction.
man.
So then you got to start taking Viagra too.
I'm
not down for
Big Pharma's way to kind of keep you
Yeah.
bouncing around in their pockets.
Exactly. Like you're going to be paying us $200 a month for the rest of your life, you bald limp dick faggot.
That's like an extreme version of when I smoke weed for my own mental medication, and then I have to drink coffee to stay awake again. It's kind of a much more Big Pharma way of doing that. Same
That's a Colorado speedball, right?
thing. Exactly, which I am very familiar with. Absolutely familiar with. Yes.
Yeah. If you didn't know, well, here we're getting ready for a hurricane. It is fall in Florida, which means it's still hot as balls. My asshole is still sweating on a daily basis. And
Solid visual.
we're going to have a hurricane or two during the season. So this is our second one on the west coast of Florida, where it's coming close this year. And I feel
What's
like
the
that's a little
name?
bit more than normal.
Yeah. What's the name of this one? Which one? Who should
They
I
didn't
hate?
name it yet. It's supposedly it's going to be developing. It's not even a tropical storm right now. That's how fast they said it's going to develop. So right now it's like called like potential tropical storm number 9 or something.
Yeah, not good enough. I need something. I need a name to hate.
I think the next name on the list, unless one pops up somewhere else and snags the name, I think the next name is Helen.
Okay.
Hurricane Helen.
That was my grandma's
Was it-
name. It's gonna be
or is
tough
it-
to hate that one.
It could be Helene. It has an E at the end. Does Helen have an E at the end?
No, this Helen was just Helen. So yeah, if it's another name that's not Helen,
It could be Helene.
full blown hatred.
I don't know.
I'll dish all my hatred from Colorado your way and maybe do some sort of damage on that.
Yeah, so we gotta
Tropical
get
storm.
some prep going on. That's why another reason why I agreed to a morning podcast with you, because then I I got to do my hurricane prep.
Get the bunker ready.
Yeah, well, I got the hurricane-proof windows, so I don't got to put up boards or anything anymore. So that's
good. What does that entail? A hurricane-proof window? Is it a
it's
different
like
type of glass or
It's,
plexiglass?
it's like a double paned window with like a vacuum in between. And then I guess there's like this good laminate on the outside where it just doesn't crack open and keeps that vacuum seal in between. So,
Nice.
you could, I don't think it's bulletproof, but I think you could throw like a baseball against it. It would probably crack and look like shit. So don't do that, please, if you know where I live.
You don't want to like lick the glass and like taunt the hurricane
Yeah.
through the window and be like, "Bitch,
Come on and
you can't
get
get me."
Elaine, you bitch.
you dirty, dirty tropical storm.
Yeah, so we gotta get so for the prep. I don't know what to do because I got bruised ribs right now, so I don't know how much I could do.
How'd you bruise them?
I took a baseball right to the ribs. I got
Oh
beamed.
man, beans. So wait, were they throwing at you? That's not a normally they throw for the back or maybe the butt. They
No,
went
no.
right at the ribs.
I was sitting in the stands on Saturday. I was in the outfield and the Rays were about to go up, so the outfielder was on the Blue Jays. I didn't know that he was going to throw balls into the stands for the kids because usually the opposing team doesn't do that. So I was a little high, and then I was sitting there playing on my phone, and then all of a sudden I just look up, and this thing's coming right at me, and I try to like grab it with my left hand because my phone is in my right hand, and I just missed that thing, and it just hit me right in the ribs.
Oh man, well that's bad luck, and another reason to hate cell phones.
Yeah.
Damn cell phones.
You should. Honestly,
You could have had
if
glory.
you go to the
I mean, when
baseball
you catch
game,
that ball,
yeah, if you go to the baseball game, just don't have your cell phone out at all. Really, you shouldn't. Like it was in between innings, and I wanted to check something. You know what it is? It's gambling. I was checking on the Hard Rock Bet app. Like,
There you go.
what is my parlay for this game? So
well,
yeah,
dude, you could have had the glory of catching a foul ball, which
it wasn't even a foul ball. It was just being tossed by the guy. It was like everybody around me like scrambled for it, and I'm like, that's not even a game ball. Like.
All right, so no glory. Sorry,
It's
This is
just a
bad
baseball.
luck.
That you can go to Dick's Sporting Goods and you can get a whole tube of those for like $8. Okay.
You would have given that to whatever kid was sitting around you, anyways.
Yeah, we brought Jander and his kid
Oh, nice.
to the game, and that was both of their first major league games. So that's my new fun hobby is getting people that aren't interested in baseball to go to the game for free with me. So hopefully the Rays won't have such a dismal fan base forever. I'm just going to do it
Dude,
2 people at a time.
Hey, I'm really proud of you for doing your part because the rest of Tampa St. Pete is not doing their part. I mean, I've never seen. My dad was one of the few fans that Tampa had, and then he moved to Ohio to be closer to the tribe or the Guardians, they call them now. But yeah, you and JB are like the two
Yeah.
Rays fans that I know, and bless you because without
more.
you, they wouldn't have a whole lot.
There's more, but last season the league kind of screwed us when we made it into the playoffs, and they gave our first 3 games of the playoffs were day games. So
Because they don't have any fans to watch. So if you're a
Yeah.
broadcasting network, why would you give them any
right,
preferential
right.
treatment?
Well,
Just to hope
except
they play the
that there
Yankees.
is a good there's a decent fan base now since because how long have you been gone?
We moved in 2017.
27. Okay, so it's definitely better now. I mean, we went to the World Series again in 2020. That always helps.
Yeah.
So I think as long as it's not, I've seen day games that were more packed than those playoff ones, though. And honestly, I couldn't afford to go to the playoff games. So I feel like if the tickets aren't selling, then you just need to be like, all right, they're $5, and then just
Yeah,
pack
it's-
everybody in there.
Well,
Like,
what happens is the opposing team's fans can't get those tickets anywhere else, especially
Right.
for the rate that you get in Tampa. So they come and they overwhelm the game with the opposing.
yeah, no, you got to
cheers,
have
boos and
residency to get the $5 tickets. Everybody else,
Totally.
it's $200. Okay, I don't know. I'll figure this out
I-
somehow.
Totally agree. Keep it in the community.
Moving on, what have you been up to? So you've been out in Colorado for 8 years,
Yes.
abouts.
Yes.
And
7, 8 years.
I mean, I didn't think you were going to stay out there this long, but it seems like you're a permanent Colorado resident now, right?
Yeah, at this point I think the mosquitoes and humidity are just they're a lot for me to
You're not
handle.
going to miss
I,
it. Yeah.
I don't have a good relationship with mosquitoes, and my balls don't have a good relationship with humidity.
Okay.
And so
I feel that.
right. You alluded to that earlier. So I don't feel like I didn't escape per se, but those two things they weighed heavily on my decision. And I'm closer to the mountains out here, farther away from Ron DeSantis. We like the being close to the mountains, and we like being amongst a lot of not cultural diversity, but there's maybe more diverse interests politically and socially than you would have.
It's like a diverse, it's diverse socially, but I feel like Denver and the surrounding area, kind of everybody has the same vibe going on.
Very white,
just like,
very white out here.
Yeah, very white, very chill.
We enjoy our cannabis out here. We either grow it or purchase it more frequently than maybe the rest of the nation.
You're allowed to grow it yourself out there, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's hard because of like the smell. You have to do this charcoal filtering and other crap that I don't feel like doing. But you don't want to smell like here.
You don't want to smell like a weed dealer's house.
I mean, it kind of does at times, anyways. So I don't need to amplify that. But basically, it's so cheap out here. Ounces you can get for like $70, maybe $100 if it's really good. So
what is it? 1997.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good. It's not brown. I remember being a kid in Clearwater, Florida, and buying brown weed and being happy with brown weed.
It was like a tinfoil brick of brown substance, and you're like, oh, this is weed, and then you could just like smoke 3 joints with your buddies and be like, yeah, I kind of feel something.
Yeah, it arrived kind of like those new mattresses where you have to like expand it out of the pack, and it had one color, brown, maybe a couple orange strands. Now when you buy it, it's like a whole universe of purple and orange and white, and so it's definitely a higher degree of both aesthetics and experience for sure.
I think Denver was the first place I ever saw purple weed, and I was like, oh, I always just thought that was like a myth. So good. It's got the little purple hairs on there. Oh my God. The legal experience in Denver, it just, even though now I have legal weed and it's at a dispensary, there's so many weird rules that it kind of makes it not fun. In Denver, going shopping for weed is fun.
Like it is. Your max as whether it be a resident or somebody from out of state is an ounce a day. So
a day.
So there's a max, but if you're concerned about the max, you have other shit you need to worry about.
You have a problem. Yeah.
You have a problem. Some people ship back like suitcases full of weed. So, I mean, it's cheap enough and readily available enough to where people can hop in, ship back a suitcase of weed and sustain their habits for a little bit back home.
Yeah, I feel like when I was buying it illegally still here in Florida, a lot of it was coming from Colorado. Because it was like, I would look up the strains that they said it was, and it would always be like, this is only grown in Colorado.
It sounds good. People are like, oh, wine from the whatever valley, Napa Valley, sounds good.
Do they have weed tours out there now? Can you do like a Napa Valley tour, but like in Colorado for like bud?
They do. They have like these weed buses that are kind of like. Remember we did the brew bus thing?
I remember the brew bus.
It's a similar concept to that. I've never done it. I don't know. I guess if you're from out of town and you kind of want to get the experience, it'd be cool. But if you're a resident, I mean, you know the landscape. You know what you can and can't do, and what edible will make you go insane for the next 24 hours, and which one is manageable.
Somebody. It was. I think it was some of Leah's friends that weren't experienced with smoking. Somebody gave them they've never done it before at all. They gave them each like 10 milligram squares.
No.
It was like, here you go. And then they took it and it was just like, I think we need to go to the hospital. Yeah, because for a beginner is what, 1 milligram for a beginner is good, right?
When it comes to edibles, I would say like don't throw anybody right into the edible pool. I would say they have to have some familiarity with cannabis.
Yeah, vape first. Yeah,
vape first, or smoke a joint or something. Just know whether you're the super anxious or call the cops kind of weed smoker. The one thing that I love to tell people, when I educate about psilocybin mushrooms is, and the same thing as with weed, is just nobody's ever died from this. And nobody's ever physically gotten addicted to this. You may enjoy the experience. It may be cool and help you get away from it all, but you're not going to die and you're not going to get addicted. So just ride it out for whatever happens. If you took too much or the wrong environment, ride it out, go with the flow, because you're not going to die and this is not going to put you in some sort of crack clinic the next day.
Yeah. I think I've only had a bad trip like maybe 1 or 2 times. And I did want to get around to mushrooms because that's the other thing that's like legal-ish in
Decriminalized.
in Colorado. Yeah, so legal, I guess it's not legal, but like nobody cares if you do it anymore. What is the deal with this?
So decriminalization essentially means that you can grow it, you can use it, you can harvest it, but you can't use it in your business. You can't make money off of it. You can't sell it. There can't be transactions. So it's more of like a libertarian approach to using the kind of like, leave me alone, let me do my own thing. But when I have to now be subject to taxes and other things, that's where they're like, no, you can't use it for your business yet. So if you're a clinic that offers maybe psychological care or something like that, there are ways for you to use it for your patients.
You can
But at this
add
point,
it
you have to
into
go through a bunch of
your
hoops.
to your treatment plan or whatever.
Yeah, you can add it into your treatment plan or offer that as part of one of your other service bundles. But it's really, there's a lot of red tape now. And I mean, you never know if new administration is going to come in and change all that stuff. It's still kind of new. So I think the decriminalization state for people that are really, they want to be true to the mushrooms, true to it being a fungal medicine, plant
Mm-hmm.
style medicine. They don't want it to be legalized because this is something where, if you have the wrong mindset or the wrong social or physical setting,
Right.
you can really drive yourself crazy with a heavy dose of mushrooms. So
Mhm.
without some sort of preparatory process or understanding of the landscape, it's hard to say, let's just give mushrooms at the corner store legal and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I've been doing microdosing because how much is a microdose?
Like 150, 200 milligrams. It's usually a tenth of your mini recreational dose. Whatever
Okay.
dose you feel is good and manageable, a tenth of that is your. Well, the goal with the microdose is to hover right before you start to experience the noticeable effects, before you start to yawn and cry and feel
Okay.
tingling and notice that there's something with you. You hover right below that, and that's your microdose. So it's usually a tenth
Okay.
of your sweet spot. And the reason that you want it to be that low and hover below
You're
that
not trying
line,
to be high.
you want to be able to do normal shit,
Yeah.
right? And not be worrying about, oh my God, like, is this going to affect my judgment? So you need to hover right below that noticeable line.
Okay. So yeah, so I haven't been quite doing microdosing, but I have been doing small doses when I go out and about. And like say I go to a baseball game and get hit with a pitch. It wasn't that time. I wasn't high that time. Not on mushrooms anyway.
Sure.
What happened there was that it was just like the line to get in was like way too long, and then I ended up getting like too high in that line.
It happens to the best of us. Gotta pass the time somehow.
Just like vaping out of boredom, basically. But yeah, so I've been enjoying it. So you're kind of a advocate for people doing mushrooms, and you kind of do a blog and like a podcast based on that. You want to tell us about that real quick?
Yeah. I have a podcast called The Mustache Room, MUSTASH Room. If you kind of spell some letters in a different color, it looks like mushroom. So that's as far as my creativity goes. we talk about entheogens, which are, psychedelics, plant-based medicine, fungal medicine, psilocybin. And essentially because in Denver, you're allowed to grow it. And like I said, it's decriminalized. You can use it for personal purposes. I want people to grow it and use it. I don't want them to wait for it to be synthesized in some big pharma lab and buy that. I want them to use it.
You want to see where it comes from and understand the entire process.
Yeah, and pay respect to, it's medicine. So I want to pay respect to the process. I wouldn't say it's an art to grow mushrooms, but it's definitely a process. So just like with comedy, like you want to respect the comedy, the process that goes into creating a set. I want to respect the process that goes into creating this medicine. So I love the process. I think it's fun, seeing your mushrooms actually grow fruiting bodies and, then you dry them and use them and all that stuff. But my podcast is essentially like, you can do this on your own. You don't need to meet some guy behind a McDonald's and like make a transaction behind a dumpster. Like you can do this yourself. And so for me as an adult, I've done therapy with ayahuasca, MDMA, psilocybin, and for regular sustained use, psilocybin is fantastic. It is.
Yeah. Why
definitely
is
my favorite.
psilocybin better than other plant medicines that are used to treat some of the same things?
Because ayahuasca or DMT, which I've done raw DMT as well as
Same.
ayahuasca. And so I've done those. Those, for me, that's more of, I don't really like DMT by itself. It's just like a quick hit. I haven't really gotten any mystical benefits out of it. But ayahuasca is really heavy and digs into your soul to rip stuff out to be dealt with.
That seems really harsh because I've heard stories about that. So did you do the ayahuasca trip?
Yeah, I've done twice.
You've done it twice. How long does it take each time? Did you do like a full 3-day thing each time?
Yeah, I actually did it in Orlando both times. The place that where I did it, they got shut down. Unfortunately, it doesn't say a lot for them, but they've treated like 30,000 people over the course of the 10+ years that they were in business, and they had one bad situation where somebody had a condition that they didn't identify, and I guess the paramedics didn't get there in time, and so the guy died, and ultimately they weren't able to survive. The
didn't die because of the drugs. He died because he had some sort of condition.
Well, so there's a ceremony that they do called Kambo. There's a ceremony they do called Kambo, which is basically the use of a frog poison or a frog excretion.
I've heard of that.
To prep for your Kambo experience, you guzzle 6 to 8 quarts of water quickly in like 10 to 15 minutes. And it's a lot, and it sucks. And it's the worst part of the process. But this guy had some sort of condition that didn't mesh well with that amount of water intake. And it kicked something, and they didn't call the paramedics in time because they like to triage all these things on their own. And I think it was just a little bit of stubbornness on their part. But ultimately, I mean, I did the Kambo ceremony.
There's a term for that when you have too much water in your body. I've actually seen somebody suffering from that. It's pretty nasty looking. Yeah.
I suffered temporarily, but I made it through. I mean, you drink all this water, they shove this poison, or they burn your skin, and they put poison into the secretion, or I'm sorry, into the wound.
The wound what do they burn you with?
There's like a spear or some sort of piece of wood that they use. It's very ceremonial. And the shaman from the Amazon that did it to me burned little areas in my shoulder, and then he put the frog poison in. And once it sets in, you start to regurgitate. You start to throw up all this water. So they give you a bucket, and everybody's bucket looks a different color. It's really crazy. And you're supposed to have effects. It's supposed to offer some positive, I don't know if it's somatic.
It's a type of DMT, benefit. Isn't it? The poison in the frog, or
not? This one. 5-MeO, I think, comes from the frog.
That's a different. So we're talking different frogs here.
Different frog. This is called Kambo, KMBO.
Okay.
But I can't say whether it offered a lot of resonating effects. I did 3 ayahuasca ceremonies prior to that. Okay. And so 2-night ceremonies, 1-day ceremony, and those were extremely profound. You deal with, ultimately, Mother Ayahuasca is the personification of this medicine, and she comes to you, and she plants seeds in your head, and you start engineering and thinking about things that are either problematic, traumatic.
Is that the same as the lady that's always creeping around in the DMT Tesseract? Have you ever been? Have you ever
Tesseract?
been? It's like this this giant cube that's constantly shifting. Have you never been there?
DMT. I mean, I've been to a lot of spatial places,
right?
But yeah, I can't see that particular image.
And you never had the lady in the robes that's subtly following you around to each different scene?
No, I didn't have.
Might be the
Mother
same
Ayahuasca.
lady. I don't know.
Mother Ayahuasca, she's a healer, and so she's the face of the medicine. And I mean, it's you throw up. I never shit myself, so I threw up.
Good for you.
A lot of that going on, but it feels good. It's not like the hangover throw up where you're like, oh, my body hurts and this sucks and I want to die. It's more of like, this shit has to get out. The medicine goes in and it comes back out with some purpose.
It's like some sort of like spiritual thing, like you're purging like a spiritual type of poison. Is that what you're kind of describing?
Totally. I mean, the medicine tastes like dog shit. It is disgusting. And so you take it and you're like, this is already awful. And then there's authentic music, indigenous music that complements the flow of the medicine. And you're comfortable, you're at ease, and basically you just allow it to take its course. And once it does, it's meant to pull stuff back out. People that have a lot more emotional baggage or things that they haven't addressed, they purge a lot more. It's a little bit more drawn out for them.
That's what I've kind of heard is that, yeah, like if you're trying to, because a lot of people do like ayahuasca ceremonies to help them with drug addiction,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like opiate
there were-
addiction.
They do this when you try to unwind your experience. You do integration. It's called like circle integration, where you talk about your experience. And there were numerous people that came back because somebody that they knew had an ayahuasca mystical experience that cured their drug addiction. And I mean, it basically deprograms a lot of the crap that otherwise wouldn't be addressable objectively during the experience. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things that's like, well, we don't know how it works, but who cares if it's working? Like, if it gets someone to stop taking pills, then that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, it grows in the ground. I mean, it's not anything that's made in the lab. I mean, nowadays, if
It's
you're
not
doing street
anything that
drugs-
someone would ever abuse either because of the way that the process is.
No, I mean, if you look at street drugs now, if you're doing coke or whatever, that's the only one that I would even consider on any scale. But if you're doing that, fentanyl is looming with
Yeah.
every street drug. So the more you know that it's organic, the more that you know the lineage, soup to nuts, what you're getting, the better off you are. Screw fentanyl or anybody that even like encroaches that space.
Who
man.
even,
I'm trying
yeah,
to
don't
get as
even
far
buy
away
it.
from it
How
as
about
possible.
just no one buy that anymore and stop trying to give it to us?
Yeah, it's some poison, man. So I love organic, plant-based. It's fungal-based is the way to go.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about like exactly so we talked about ayahuasca. So now let's jump back to why you think mushrooms is better for not necessarily spiritual. Not necessarily a spiritual aspect, but more of a plant medicine, and like what are the types of things that you think can be treated with them?
Yeah. So first of all, like I said, it's non-lethal, not addictive. So in the labs where they give it to mice, they give them Coke and they come back. They're like, I want more Coke, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, they don't even care about having sex anymore. They just want more Coke.
That's all they want. They're just white nose for the rest of time, right? So, but if they give them ayahuasca or they give them we'll just focus on psilocybin. If they give them psilocybin, they're not coming back. They don't know how to handle that. It's not addictive. There's no way that it could be addictive unless you're a masochist and just like to constantly be dealing with your shit over and over to ad nauseum. But no, so they don't come back and nobody dies. So you feel safe knowing the implications of whatever is going to happen. I mean, you try to control the experience the best you can, but you know that no matter what happens, you're safe. You're going to come out safe on the other side. So that to me is, even if you take Molly or something, I mean, it's still a synthetic substance. There's a chance you might not come out all right on the other side. It's
Yeah,
just
it
the way
could
it
be, someone else is making it, so it could be not as advertised, or it could have something else in it that your body doesn't necessarily agree with.
Totally. And you don't know, how many times it's changed hands and potentially been, compromised by something else. So I just know with these organic components, I feel really comfortable taking them.
There's an episode of Broad City where they take Molly at a concert, but then it like ends up not being Molly, and they're just like tripping balls and like puking. They're like stuck in an air vent somewhere, like vomiting for like 6 hours.
Dude, Abby and Alana, I love them so much. Yeah, so that's where you could end up. So I just, I'm not when I talk about this stuff, I don't like to talk about it as if it were drugs. These are just medicine. This is medicine. You can use it recreationally if you want, but it is ultimately medicine. So for me, I want to take it because there are things where I have bias, I have judgment for whatever reason. They're bothering me. Like when you meditate, we both do transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
When you go into meditation, the first 5 minutes is all the bullshit that's bothering you that you have to kind of sift through. There's that stuff kind of deeper down that you can't gain access to unless
you have to
give
push away
psilocybin access to it.
Yeah, you have to push away when you're doing the TM. You kind of have to get past all the little day-to-day bullshit, like, oh, my wife annoyed me, or that guy cut me off in traffic, or my boss is being a dick, or that booker didn't book me, or whatever. And then you get to the root causes of things that are actually making you feel unhappy.
Exactly. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm done with my meditation. So this is akin to that, where there's shit way deeper down that's driving you crazy at a deeper level that you can't really bubble up during your TM session. And that's where, if you get your mindset and you get your set and setting, mindset and physical or social setting, you get those to a point where you can fully relax, you have the right complement of music, you can start to deal with that shit. So I remember there was a situation where I had an accountant, and he said I didn't upload something to the portal, and so I was penalized on my taxes or whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna write a shitty review about this guy because he cost me money. And so I go into this heavy dose, a heroic 5+ gram dose of mushrooms.
It's a good size, yeah.
Heavy, awesome, but I was comfortable, had awesome music. And I started to think about this. I'm like, why am I trying to like ruin this guy's business? He's a young guy taking over somebody else's practice. He made a mistake. He doesn't hate me. He's not nefarious. Why do I need to go out of my way to ruin this guy's business? And so I looked at it objectively without any ego or bias. He's not trying to ruin me. And so I came out on the other side.
People just make mistakes.
Yeah. And I came on the other side. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time, and it's just not worth it. But if I just let that fester in my head day to day, it would drive me crazy. Yeah.
And you're be like, all accountants are dickheads.
I'd be wearing like anti-accountant garb and shit like that. So I just couldn't let it get to that point. And so that's the kind of stuff that happens. Something that's weighing you down, you get to look at it objectively and realize that all of your preconceived notions are bullshit.
Okay. Have you ever added meditation into the mushroom practice?
Yeah,
like do mushrooms and then maybe say your mantra or whatever for a while and try to meditate while it's affecting your brain?
Yeah, so I don't do meditation while I'm going under the knife per se, but I do think that meditation is a huge preparatory tool for a really solid, manageable psilocybin experience. Because, with transcendental meditation, it's like all this stuff is coming at you and you have to triage it, set it aside, and kind of pave the way for a smooth flow, mantra helping you kind of stay in line.
Right.
But with the psilocybin experience, I tend to like do nothing. I tend to let all the heavy lifting, everything be done, no mantra, nothing, just by the music. I won't sit in silence because that's just weird, but I will put on perfect music and the music kind of takes over. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have a whole lot of experience with like just seeing if I can do a pure meditation, silence, mantra based. I haven't really tried that because the music is such a great director for my experience that I've never really looked outside of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, music can be very powerful, so I can definitely see that. I don't know if I need to try it. Next time I do mushrooms, I'm going to have to try that. When I'm by myself, what do you like to listen to? We can't play it on the show, but we can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get you taken off whatever. I love Liquid Bloom. Okay. Liquid Bloom is awesome. Specifically Porangi. That's Porangui, I believe. But basically the thing to look out for is no hermeneutic interference. Hermeneutic interference is something that you can internalize, something that you understand, something that can incite thought. So the goal is you can have another language that you don't know, have a lot of chanting, have a lot of instruments, have vocals that are non-decipherable, but you don't want anything that you can use as a way to internalize anything, because then it can spin you in a direction you don't want. So that's why you'll see with a lot of these, and massage is kind of the same way. It's like, you don't want anything that this person can be thinking about while they're getting the massage. So no hermeneutic interference, lots of instrument heavy chanting, stuff like that is going to be your sweet spot for the experience.
Okay. So nothing with like a lot of lyrics anyway.
No, well, it could be like Portuguese or, something that you don't understand. But if you start to understand what they're saying and you're painting pictures and scenarios in your head, now you're wasting your medicine.
It's funny that you say that, because when I'm writing certain things, I want music with like a lot of rhythm, but also a lot of words in it. So that way it like makes me think of a bunch of different other things, But
so
then other times when I'm writing, I just want the words to come out of like nothingness. So I'll listen to like Krungbin or something like that.
Okay.
El Michelle's Affair is a good one. That's mostly instrumental.
you're trying to get thoughts, like you're trying to
Mhm.
generate engineering and stuff. So that's the total opposite. So just think of whatever the recipe for not doing that
Not
is
doing
essentially
that.
what you're looking for with psilocybin.
So before we get off the topic of plant medicine, what do you think everyone's best course is for like starting down this path on their own to like grow it from scratch, grow their own plant medicine, and then dry it and just do it all themselves so they can start treating themselves for these different issues?
Yeah. So if you're in a state that has already decriminalized mushrooms, which there are some, I think, like Oakland, California. So I'm not sure if that's the whole state or if it's citywide. But
Mhm.
if you're in an area that has decriminalized the use of psilocybin mushrooms, and really psilocybe cubensis is the specific nomenclature. There are a lot of other psilocybins like natalensis and other things. That's really, you want to stick with the cubensis because that's going to be the easiest for you to grow,
Mhm.
and the most universal when you come to training videos and things like that. So first, decriminalization is important. If it's not decriminalized, you might still be able to buy spores. Okay, so the easiest way to get the mushroom in its infancy is with what's called a spore, a mushroom spore, and that's just
That's
something that
how
falls from,
mushrooms breed, because mushrooms aren't plants.
it's a seed essentially.
Yeah, they're not actually
So
plants, so it's like kind of a different thing.
it's fungi.
It's
Yeah,
fungus.
fungus, exactly. So you take this spore, mushroom spore, and you have to introduce it to a food source to kickstart the process.
Mhm.
So there's grain spawn. It's usually rye or millet or corn or something like that, where the spore can now kickstart the process of growing mushrooms. So you need to be able to buy those spores. So there are websites, Sporeworks, Spore Store. If you look up mushroom spores, you want to get a syringe with spores. And so once you get the syringe, now you at least have the seed, the important piece, and then you can watch some videos on how to inoculate grain spawn, create fruiting bodies. It's a pretty meticulous process, and you need to be very mindful of sterilization and desanitizing your workspace.
Yeah.
But if
So
you listen to
if you work,
my podcast tells you that's like what we discuss a lot of that
okay.
stuff. Mustache.
Yeah, I feel like, people, if you've ever worked in a kitchen and you're safe certified in the kitchen, you probably are good. You probably can do mushrooms because you understand how that is. But if you have not been safe certified or something like that, yeah, you definitely need to get some knowledge on how to make sure that everything is completely sterilized.
Yeah, I mean, because if you don't, you're going to get a month down the road and things are going to be just unusable.
They
So
could
you
turn
want to
into
avoid,
basic trash in no time.
because the spores, the food source that you're giving to the spores, you want the spores to access the food source, but you have all these other contaminants, mold, and other things that also want access to the food source. So if you're not sterile enough and you don't have a really mindful workspace,
Mhm.
it'll just be the mold and other stuff, and your mushrooms won't grow.
Okay, well, tell
Obviously.
everybody the podcast again. Sorry, I didn't put it up here, but
No, it's cool.
I'll definitely. It's going to
Mustache.
definitely be in the show notes. I'm going to link to it.
Sweet. Yeah, it's called Mustache Room, The Mustache Room, Mustash Room. And the parent company is Mustache Brands. They have collapsible portable products for leisure lifestyles. It's the best way I can put it. Plus my Cannabin, and it's doing some other cool stuff. But that podcast is resident on the Mustache Brands website. But we have about 27 episodes at this point. I haven't
Okay.
recorded in a couple months, so I need to get the frequency up a little bit. But there's a lot of earlier episodes where I interview healers, plant-based medicine healers. We talk about music. We talk about a lot of other facets of the experience. So it's really some interesting stuff that we've had as topics on the podcast today.
Yeah, this podcast will be like this is like the pre-beginner's guide. Okay, this is
Hell
just
yeah.
to generate interest. But if you-
Basics.
If you really need to get into this, then check out the Mustache Room podcast. And is that available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that stuff?
Yeah, it should be everywhere.
just everywhere. Okay.
And like I said, if you look in the archive, you'll see the labels will tell you, if this is a MDMA psilocybin healer or somebody that goes abroad with ayahuasca or, whatever we're talking about on that episode.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to let you guys know that my special is out right now. It's called John J. Murray Rhinoceros, and it's on Amazon Prime. Please go get that. I would love that because it really helps me out. Even if you just want to add it to your playlist, that helps me out. Or you could buy it, watch it later. You could also rent it I'd prefer if you buy it, but if you buy it, you can just show it to all your friends. So check out John J. Murray Rhinoceros on Amazon Prime Video. We're also sponsored by the Carry Cart. That's Carry Cart with 2 Ks. If you go to carrycart.com and use the code SP at checkout, you're going to get $20 off your very first Carry Cart. That supports the show. We use all that money to pay for bandwidth and new cameras and cool new equipment and ability, the ability to have guests on all the way from Denver. So go to carrycart.com, use the code SP, and you're going to get $20 off your first Carry Cart. Also, check out random-fandom.com. That's all weird apparel. It is the official T-shirt shop of the Something Planet podcast, so make sure you go get one of those. It's Christmas time, so you're going to have to get some random-fandom Christmas shirts.
Rhinoceros. Awesome. If you haven't heard it yet, awesome.
Have you checked it out?
Oh yeah, dude, I recognize quite a bit of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's very
I mean,
familiar.
you were at all of those shows over the course of a decade where I worked all those jokes out.
I saw the process, man, and I'm super proud of you for sticking with it and being able to put that thing together.
Oh,
It's
thanks,
awesome.
man. I do want to shout out these guys real quick that made this software that made it possible for David to be here today, and it's called VDO Ninja. And if you just Google VDO Ninja, it is a free service. It's basically a chat room and they've basically coded a link. You could just copy and paste and drop it into the OBS here, and then it just pops David up on the screen. Or you can have up to 6 guests in there, I think. So you could have a podcast. We could do one day, we could get the whole crew back together. We could get, me, you, JB, Matt, Johnny.
I would love that.
Put us all in a chat room together, and we can all just podcast like this.
I saw Krishna's moving back to Tampa, so we can get a Krishna.
I just saw, Krishna's going to be back in Tampa. He's another awesome comic and scientist. I'm sure he would be interested in all of these mushrooms and plant-based medicines. He's more of a traditional medicine type of guy, where he's like, well, he's a researcher. He's
mildly intelligent. I don't know that my IQ can hang out with Krishna's, but we'll still have a conversation.
Yeah, we can still have. He's willing to talk to us dummies.
Exactly.
Before we get out of here, I can just play this quick bumper here, and we can talk about what we've been watching and listening to on TV, and maybe even some books.
It's Something Planet, Massive Media, tonight.
It's this morning or early this afternoon, but Something Planet, Massive Media. The first thing I want to talk about, I've already done a review for this, but it is called I'm Starting to Worry About This Black Box of Doom by Jason Pargin. And that is, he's really funny author. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was the editor of Cracked magazine for a number of years, and he used to write under the pen name David Wong.
Okay, I remember Mad Magazine. I never got into Cracked.
Cracked
but
was
very familiar.
I feel like when he was in charge of Cracked, it was definitely better than Mad Magazine at that point. So he was, I think, the editor during the days when they were switching from like print to web.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there was like a lot of funny sketches and stuff on there, and it wasn't just cartoons and articles at that point. They were doing a ton of videos and things like that. So he just wrote this new book. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom. I got an advanced copy on it. It actually just came out today. It's in bookstores now, and I give it a 9 out of 10 planets. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a perfect snapshot of our current day internet culture. Basically,
is it dystopian?
Form. It is It's like a dystopian present.
Okay. All right. So old people should not read this book. This will instill
I think everybody should read this
more.
book. I think everybody should read this book. The main protagonist is this kid who his name is Abbott, who basically has lived his almost entire existence online. Because he's like 22. He's a Twitch streamer. He doesn't really go out of the house or anything. And then he's basically driving Uber one day because his dad makes him drive Uber because he doesn't have a job. And and he gets approached by this woman wearing green sunglasses and who's dressed strange, and she's got a giant concert box with a nuclear symbol painted on it. And she tells him that she'll give him $100,000 if he drives her from California to Washington, D.C. in 3 days, and they have to be there by the 4th of July. The only catch is he can't look inside the box, and he can't ask what's inside the box.
Wait, I have one very important question. How hot is she?
She is hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that really influences.
She's
the
good looking.
decision,
Yeah.
I'm
He's
sure.
a 20-year-old guy, so...
I'm not going across the country with large Marge.
Yeah. So it kind of gets into, just like the thought process of why you would do something like that. But then also at the same time, people on the internet start panicking and saying, well, what's in that box? And then all of a sudden rumors start getting started. I know what's in the box. I know that so-and-so, she's a CIA plant, and it just spirals out of control from there. It reminds me of like a classic Coen Brothers film almost. Like, I feel like it's gonna get made into a movie. I feel like it really is. It's the only one of these guys' book that is it's a standalone book, and it's kind of action packed the entire time. I don't want to give too much away about it because part of it is the excitement of just reading what's happening and how fun it is and how outrageous some of the shit is. So,
with something generic like that, like a box, you could go in a billion different directions.
You go in a billion different directions. Most stuff that I'm reading, I'm kind of predicting what it's going to be by the end of it. In this, I had no fucking clue. I'm in the last 2 chapters, and I'm like, I still do not know what the fuck is going on. So 9 out of 10, Jason Pergin. It's out today. Check it out in bookstores. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom. It's a mouthful.
Your parents have probably said that at some point recently.
Yeah.
While speaking to the computer.
What have you been watching or listening to or reading?
You can be super impressed by this.
Okay.
Bones.
Bones, like the is it the show with the she's an anthropologist.
She is the other Deschanel, not Zoe.
She's the other Deschanel sister. Okay.
Yes. She's Emily Deschanel, and I don't know how here's how, because remember Noah Hawley was the writer for Fargo, and I got infatuated by Fargo.
I remember.
Thanks again for telling me that it wasn't actually real, even though I believed in my hearts of hearts.
David did get tricked by the disclaimer in the beginning of the Fargo episodes saying that it was real. And I was like, bro, that's a joke. Thank God that show isn't real.
Thank God you told me that, because I would have just gone professing my love for this true story over and over to people that would then look at me like a total freaking... Anyway, so I loved Fargo, and I looked to see what else he was writing, and one of those things was Bones. Very past tense. It was 2005 to 2017. However, other than the clamshell phones, a lot of this stuff still holds up.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize that he had written that show.
Yeah, the main writer. And as a result, I mean, he's a badass. And
he is a great writer.
Really
the other show that he did was Legion.
Haven't watched that one.
I know you're not into Marvel superhero stuff. I know you're not necessarily into that, but his version of Marvel with Legion is fantastic. The writing, I think, is just as sharp as Fargo.
He's a badass. I'll follow him anywhere, so y'all have to try that after all 12 seasons of Bones.
Like I'm doing Bones, okay? I'm not.
It is not something that I'm super proud of. Like if somebody's like, "Hey, what have you been doing the last few times Jill's not there?" I've been watching Bones. So masturbation before Bones, and then as much Bones as I can stand before I have to either tend to my daughter or do something productive.
All right. So you got to jerk off before Bones because you don't want to do it during. It'll be too hard of a boner. You
just have to orient your bones properly.
It's just boners only on NBC this fall. I watched. Me and Leah finished Interview with a Vampire season 2.
So wait, this is based off the movie. I remember there was a movie with Tom Cruise or
It
something?
was Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in the 90s, I believe. And no, so this is based off the same books as those were based on. But the TV
Okay.
show kind of changes some of the dumb shit that Anne Rice was doing in the 90s. And I think Anne Rice has passed away now, but they kind of started what they're calling the Anne Rice's Immortal Universe. So it's going to be like vampires, witches, possibly werewolves and mummies too, because she did have
So
some
like
books about
the
that stuff.
Avengers of Halloween characters.
Basically, yeah. I mean, right now she has Interview with a Vampire, and then she also has the Mayfair Witches, which is both of them are set in New Orleans, Louisiana. So if you're a big fan of New Orleans, I think you'll like both of those shows. Season 2 for Interview with the Vampire, though, I'm also going to give that a 9 because I read the
Ooh.
books and I thought that the TV show was better than the books. And I rarely ever say some shit like that. So
It's a very intellectual, a very non-intellectual thing for you to say that the book
yeah,
or
television is better.
the book is always better, right? That just makes you sound smart.
Almost always, but the guys that they got to play the vampires are phenomenal. The writing is phenomenal. The special effects look great. Like everything's good. Everything about it is good.
I love my vampire affinity ends with Blade. I love Blade. I love all the Blades, especially the one with Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds because I love them both.
That was the worst one.
It was the worst one, but I love them. So just seeing them, I was
It's-
hoping that
I love
would
how mu- I
end
was
in
like,
some
how
sort of
many-
marriage.
I kept thinking, like, how many superhero movies, like bad superhero movies, is Ryan Reynolds going to have to be in before one sticks? And it took like 20 years.
He was beautiful in that movie. So is she. I just, I was just in awe by the aesthetic charm that they came across on the screen.
Yeah, because
But-
he's basically just like Deadpool in Blade 3. He's basically the Deadpool character. He's just Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds, right?
I had such a man boner for him and his physique. Like he was just his perfect physique. Yeah, I'm kind of like a meathead myself. So when I see somebody that go that far for like an awesome, just rigid six pack, it gives me an extra man boner. So, or whatever, man affinity boner, however you want to articulate that. He's the subject of most of my man boners.
All right. Well, what did you think of
you're welcome.
Deadpool and Wolverine? Did you see that yet?
I did not see that one yet. I haven't gone to the theater a lot, so
Neither,
I'm
I mean,
kinda
that was the
waiting
only
for it
one
to
I
make
went to
its
the theater
rounds.
for.
Was it good?
In 2 years. It was good. I mean, everybody was talking about how it's like this really, really amazing film, but I kind of thought it was just a good, funny movie. I mean, I like both the actors. I think they're really good together. I thought it was just, it's mostly a comedy. I didn't think there wasn't like a whole lot of dramatic parts in there, you know?
Isn't Channing Tatum a big part of the movie too?
Channing Tatum, has a decent size role. I think we can spoil it at this point. He plays Gambit and they kind of make fun of like how his Gambit movie got like shelved and and never came out or whatever.
Okay.
And
He's willing to do anything.
You will be pleased to know this might get you to watch it. Also, spoiler alert: if you don't want to be spoiled by this movie, turn it off right now because it's the last thing we're talking about. Spoiler alert: it'll probably get you to want to watch it more. Blade is in it.
Oh shit!
Blade is
Is
in
it
it.
somebody that looks like Wesley Snipes, or is it?
Nope, it's him.
Wow. Okay.
They got the original Blade in for this movie.
Good for him.
It's kind of a love letter to like the early 2000s Marvel superhero movies that are not part of the MCU.
Okay.
It makes fun of those movies, but also is like kind of like we still liked these movies. You know, we were kids, we still liked them. They were stupid as shit, but whatever, who cares?
Yeah, that's a big pull though. Blade. I mean, he's been kind of out of sight, out of mind for a while, other than like.
Well, he was in
tax
prison for a
issues.
while.
Yeah. Well, that's a good reason to not be in the limelight, I guess.
He was like, yeah, my accountant told me that I was a sovereign citizen. It's like, oh, no, guess what? You're not.
Not even close.
It's like Michael Scott on The Office. I declare bankruptcy. It's like, if you
His
say it out
accountant's like-
loud, it's true.
His accountant's like, you may be famous, but you're still black. And this is America.
They
so
will
he
put
knows.
you in jail, for sure.
Yeah,
dude,
I love me some Wesley Snipes.
Well, thank you very much for jumping on the podcast. I do
for
want to
having me.
mention I got a bunch of shows coming up. Just check out johnjcomedy.com for all my shows, and you'll be able to see that calendar. And then I got November 2nd, we're going to be doing comedy at Jack Polino's Pizza. We're going to be doing that every month for the rest of the year and see how that goes. I want comedy in downtown Dunedin at least once a month, so that's kind of
Sweet.
fixing this for me. The very first one on November 2nd, we got Nathan Wallace headlining. He's from the Grand Ole Opry. He's been on Circle TV, and I think he's got a Dry Bar comedy special, or at least a set on Dry Bar. Yeah. So very funny dude, good friend of mine. Please come out for that. That's November 2nd at Jack Polino's Pizza. All right, dude, thank you so much for coming and educating everyone about mushrooms.
Anytime.
I'm gonna get prepared for this hurricane, and I'm not gonna take mushrooms because I'm sure that'll freak me out when the winds get up to 75 miles an hour.
Hurricanes, not a good setting. So no, don't do that.
Don't do mushrooms during a hurricane. All right, thanks so
I love
much,
you, man.
guys.